your drink?
I
Do you get a
do.
drink?
I do.
Eat all
This is a key part of the experience.
Okay. So, do we want to record our intro?
Yeah, I think we should, because then it can go straight in.
Yeah, and we can be bad this time because I can edit, like I can piece it together. But,
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna. Oh yeah. Hello everyone. Welcome to Midshelf, the podcast about books. This is Jessica. This is Aaron. Today's book is, and then do you want to say the name of the book? Hello everyone. Welcome to Midshelf.
The podcast all about books, banter, and booze.
This is Jessica.
And this is Aaron. And today's book is Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop by Emmaline Duncan.
All right. So I feel like I'm echoing. Am I echoing on your side?
Not to me, no.
Okay. Well, we'll just trust that it's going to sound beautiful and wonderful. All right. So, hi, Aaron. It's been a hot minute since we've read this, but we're finally getting to record. So that's
I'm
exciting.
excited.
Okay. So, a little bit about us since this is our first episode, right? So
I think we should. I think we should talk about why we're here and why we're doing this.
Yeah. So, Aaron and I have, well, Aaron has known me since I was born. I have known her since I was born.
Very close to the same period of time. Oh my gosh, Jess, pause.
Yeah.
Pause. My battery on my computer.
Okay.
That was like a classic blunder. Okay.
We're going to leave this stuff in 'cause it's good.
Yeah, definitely people want to hear this. So you were saying,
So, oh, now my Kindle won't open. Oh, geez, this is just a wonderful adventure of missteps here. Yeah, so
back to our births.
not, not only are we cousins, but we somehow grew up with the same love of reading and writing. So, well, I grew up in Connecticut. Aaron, you grew up
In Vermont.
in Vermont. And when I lived up in Boston, we actually had a writing association together. And
Kinship Writers.
Yep, Kinship Writers Association. And we brought together agents and editors and just writers, authors who love to write and got them connected in the industry.
We ended up being locked out of our venue and ended up over at the nuns' house across the street.
Thank goodness for those Catholic nuns.
They
right?
let us in.
Yes, they did let us in.
So tell,
yeah,
Jess, I want you to tell about your book that you've written, and then also like what you're working on.
Okay. Yeah, so we are both writers and published authors, and part of our inspiration for this is that we just want authors to have as much exposure as possible, and we've been on the side of fighting for more exposure as well. So I do have a book that came out in 2016 called The Shape of the Atmosphere. That was a historical backdrop, not really historical fiction, but definitely a historical backdrop, set against the backdrop of the space race. And it's about a girl who gets sent to a private institution in the late 1950s and kind of finding a sense of family there despite all of the tragic circumstances. And then my second novel, which never did come out, but earned me my agent, Linda, who is fabulous. And she currently has my third novel draft that is being shopped around right now. And I'm still waiting to hear, but hopefully somebody will want to pick that up.
I'm waiting for the match. I am. Yeah. Everybody who has done this knows it takes a long time to find the perfect match.
Yes, I always joke that they're never going to have a reality show about writers because it would literally be like 5 exciting minutes and then 6 months of waiting.
That's true. That's true. I think they did try one, and
yeah,
I'm like, how are you going to make that good? I don't know.
Just like sitting around drumming your fingers, pulling your hair out, it's
Yes,
fun.
graying over time.
Yes, but you, tell us a little bit about yours because you have is it 4 or 5?
I think 5, but so I like sometimes I'll loop some in and some others, but at the same time I love that like you often will write gritty dark
Yeah.
and I'll be like middle grade adventure story. So yeah, I have 3 middle grades and 1 young adult, and then I have and those are Flutter, Tracing Stars, and Chasing the Milky Way. And my young adult, Keepers of the Labyrinth, it was a lot of
Love
fun,
it.
but I think it's hard to switch into different age brackets, but I think it's worth a try. And then I edited a nonfiction anthology. And the latest book I have out, I totally self published on my own to go with the humanities program I do, which is the Beginner's Guide to Cemetery Sleuthing. So it's all about like how you go into a cemetery and you see clues, and then you could go into the archives and you could rebuild a person's story. And it really is very just like you fill in the blanks in the book, and then you try some of the different exercises. So it's very like accessible. And I have a lot of fun with that one because people come to my talks, and then I sell them at the end, but I get to connect
Yeah.
with people right there and then. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And,
I
you're,
think we both have different experiences with like the traditional route versus the indie
mhm.
versus self.
Yeah,
Willing to
and
try it
you've
all.
been more traditionally published, except for your newest one. And my publisher was definitely an independent publisher that has sadly since closed their doors. But
It's hard
you
to
were through
survive.
Penguin, right?
Yeah,
Your
for
first.
the first ones. And now you and I kind of flip-flop because you have your agent and you're subbing that book and I'm looking for an agent again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of ebbs and flows, especially since we've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The midlife.
I emailed Linda recently and was like, I was digging through my emails and it's the 10-year anniversary of me
Oh my
signing with
God.
you. And it's like, and that'll kind of, when we get into our book for next month, we'll talk about how writing is not a linear journey.
No.
But for this month, we are talking about Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop. And as we said, kind of the motivation for this is finding books that we enjoyed or think would be fun that have
Maybe,
not
yeah,
as many
maybe it's not
reviews.
on the New York Times bestseller
Yeah,
list, kind of
not
hides
on the
under the
bestseller
radar a
list.
little.
Yeah, but maybe not as many reviews as we think they deserve on Goodreads or whatever your app is that you track
Yeah.
your reading. So we just want to talk about fun books. And Erin and I have some really similar tastes, but we have different tastes too. So there may be books that she loves and I
Oh,
hate, and that
totally.
but
Yes.
we want to celebrate writing in all forms, and every book has its merits no matter what. So we're going to dive
Absolutely. And
in.
as a librarian, I do a lot of browsing. Like I don't get as much
Mhm.
from the apps, so I often will, I'm just going to give this new book a shot, and I'm
Yeah.
often very delighted. Even and then I'll look and I'm like this isn't anywhere near the lists.
Yeah.
And it's fabulous. So, I love this little endeavor we're doing.
Yeah, and I love to like some of my favorites. I'll take my Goodreads list into a bookshop and try to find a book, but sometimes
Yeah,
I'll just like randomly walk around and just like pick a book off
love
the
it.
shelf and be like, "You know what? I'm going to try this."
I love that.
And
Yeah.
see what happens. So,
So tell us
um
about this book. Can you describe it? Because I picked this book, Chaos at the
you
Lazy
did pick
Bones
this book.
Bookshop.
So, we're going to give you a brief elevator pitch, and just in full disclosure, Aaron's life more than mine, but definitely both of us.
Yes.
We planned to record this about a month ago, so we read this probably 2 months ago now.
Right.
And been refreshing our memory, but
And life
um,
just takes its
yes.
toll.
Um, and by the name of this title, or yeah, the name of this book, we can imagine that this person's life did not necessarily go as planned either. So
Right.
we'll dive in. So if I'm going to give a little brief elevator pitch, so Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop is a cozy mystery in a really fun Halloween themed town about a bookshop owner um, who is trying to make her family business kind of reinvigorated, like brought back. Um, and this town is famous because it was the place of a horror movie that was filmed back in, I want to say it was like the 80s or something like that,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
the 90s. Um, so long ago, right? All these for those
Back
of
in the
us who
80s.
were born in the 1900s, you know. Um, but yeah, and so during this big weekend for their bookshop, there is a murder. Dun dun dun. A murder. Um, and so it just kind of follows the mystery of this really small themed town and her trying to solve this mystery. Um, we are going to be giving spoilers as we talk through this
Hmm.
book. So we do hope that you all will read with us as we announce the book. But just please keep in mind, especially for something like this, that the mystery, we will be revealing some of the secrets and twists as we go through. Um, but as you can tell from the title or our intro, this is about books and booze.
Yes,
So
it
we are
is.
gonna theme a cocktail every time, and Erin picked this book, so she designed the cocktail. So I don't know if you
Yes.
wanna
And
talk
I
about
I
fun
played
drinks.
all around. So I made the Lazy Bones Sipper, and it's basically just 2 ounces cider, 2 ounces bourbon, 1 tablespoon. I had to do a hearty tablespoon, maybe more of lemon, because it got a
Mhm.
little too on the sweet side, and I was just like,
Yeah.
I need a little more lemon, squeezing and squeezing. And then you give it a good shake and pour it over some ice and just top it off with some ginger ale, which is not very much. It's like 2 to 3 ounces, maybe at
Yeah.
that point. I garnished with a cinnamon stick. And I wanted it to be a little light. Yes, I love that you put an apple. I had an apple slice down there, but it was mealy, and I was like, not bringing this with me. Um, at first, I thought it was going to be way too sweet. Honestly, it's not that bad in sweetness to me, but I also wanted something that kind of fit the book, which is it's
Yeah.
not super intense, and like we need a really intense brooding cocktail. We
Yeah.
need we need a little sipper.
So when we thought we were gonna record this like a month ago, I had
Hmm.
experimented and I did it with apple cider and it was a little bit too sweet for me.
Hmm.
So when I went to buy new apple cider this time, I actually bought those Olipop sodas and I
Yeah,
bought the
yeah.
crisp apple soda.
Okay.
And so I did like 2 ounces of bourbon, 2 ounces, well, 2 ounces of bourbon, like a full ounce of lemon juice,
Yes.
shook that up, and then I topped it with the crisp apple soda. And then I
Oh,
garnished it with the
the
cinnamon
cinnamon.
stick and the apple.
Love it.
And these are Grandpa's
I
scotch
love
glasses,
them.
so I'm
Yes.
yeah, using Grandpa's scotch
He likes
glasses.
scotch though.
I do like scotch, and actually,
That's
we had our house cleaned, and I like had a box from Grandma that she had sent, and it had an old bottle of his Crown Royal in
oh.
there, and I was like, "Is the Crown Royal bourbon?" She's like, "No, it's not." I was like, "Okay, I can't use it. I'll just go with what else I bought." So I forget Maker's Mark is I think what's in here, but
Okay, and I had Jim Beam, so
yeah. So yeah, but I actually find this very refreshing and very light. Like the crisp apple soda is like perfect.
yes.
It's not too
And
sweet.
it's very seasonal.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know in terms of this story, because I know it's not a genre you usually gravitate to. What I
Hmm.
want to know what you enjoyed about it, because I know you did
Yeah.
enjoy a
So
few things.
I did enjoy the book, and I will say like I enjoy genre books, but I'm a real and Erin is too. Her writing is super character driven, but
Right, true.
I'm a very like character person. So oftentimes cozy or like genre tropes are they say a little bit more surface level.
Right.
But if you know that's the genre and that's what you're going in for, then that's what you're looking for. I was actually looking through some of the things that I highlighted. So, um, one, I loved just all of the store names in this town. So it
Right.
was like themed. And so like they have like well, they have the Lazy Bones bookshop, but then her best friend's parents own a like artisan cheese store called Ghostly Gouda. Like
Right.
I was trying to find some of the other names, but they have so many. What's the tap room's name? Do you
Oh, I
remember?
know. I just
I'd
pictured
have
it in my head, but I can't tell you the name of it. I can't
Yeah, I'll
remember.
try to look through because but they and even like the sandwiches and I actually don't think this is one, but I was like it's a missed opportunity. There should have been a sandwich called Brie
Like the goat.
Afraid.
Right,
It should have been Brie
exactly.
Afraid.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
no, I don't think they did that. She'll have to put that in the next one. Um but I really love just the like the town was a character. in and of itself, and I
Yeah.
really love setting as character.
Yes.
So that was really enjoyable for me.
I agree because the setting was one of the things that still stands out to me even after we haven't read it in a while.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it was I felt, and I guess that's part of the cozy vibe, right? You feel like you know it, so you can immediately settle into the story. And
Mhm.
so it kind of, at first I was like, oh, it's a New England town, but it wasn't. I think it's Oregon, right? And
Yeah.
it felt like Sleepy Hollow or Salem. It felt like visiting one of those places that, yes, they kind of have this theme. It's well known. People, it's a destination for people. And honestly, I could spend some time there
Mhm.
because I love
Absolutely.
Salem and I
I
love
bet
Sleepy
there's good
Hollow.
cemeteries there. You know
That's
there
the
has to
thing.
be.
Yes, it's perfect
Yeah.
for the Tombstone tourists.
Yes. I'm trying to find the name of
The
the
tap
ale
room.
shop, but I can't. But the movie that was filmed in the town I'm looking, it was called The Haunted Hounds of Hamlet Bay, which
Hmm.
I thought of what's the Hound of the Baskervilles,
Oh
like
yeah,
like they
Sherlock
think of
Holmes.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure. Um but there's just so many like fun little things that come up through just these town names, and it just seems like I could really picture it like a little town square with all of these shops. So I thought that
Right.
was like a really um like fun part. And then there were like some, I'm trying to get to my clippings because I did highlight quite a few um lines that I like that even just the displays in her bookshop. Like she has a Fangirl display, like
Hmm.
play on words. And um there were some uh lines in there that I thought were really great for like just from a writer standpoint or a book lover standpoint. So when she's talking to Rex, who will spoil that later, but Rex is a famous writer who left the town and has come back for this writing event. And he's a suspect throughout most of the book for the murder, because at first they think it's him that's been killed because the guy is wearing his watch. The murder
That's right.
victim is
And the
wearing his
guy who's
watch.
been killed has the pumpkin head on him,
Yes,
right?
has the
Yes.
pumpkin head on him in
So
this
he can't. We
corner.
don't see his face at
Yes.
first.
So, but he says in here, when she's asking him about his books, and he says, I couldn't have written that book now. In some ways, I was braver before I got published, at least when it came to books. I had a lot
That
to learn.
that hit
And
me as well.
yeah. And, I don't think for me, it's not so much that like since I've been published, I feel like there's not risks to be taken, but I think a lesson I had to learn was like writing certain, I'm like, my mother's gonna read this. Like, I can't write this.
I
And then
can't
I'm like, you
write
know what?
that.
You just gotta write the story. You gotta get over it. Um, and she'll just be like, oh, it's so dark anyway. That's what
I
she
know
always
she
says.
always said, "Yeah, oh yes, I write such dark things."
But
Maybe she
but
won't read it.
yeah.
I think she will though.
She did like my first one. I'm like, it's dark, but they're also hopeful. Like
Right.
all my
Oh,
stuff ends
totally.
hopefully.
Totally.
Um, but yeah, that really struck me. I was braver before I was published, and I think you just have to find like the guts to write the story you want to write, regardless of who's gonna love it or
And
not.
that's I think speaks to the market, right?
Hmm.
Like we want to create what we want to create, but then there's this market, and of course publishers do have to be able to sell something, or it has to be
Yeah.
monetized. It's a
Hmm.
business. So it's tough because you do want to create what you want to create, and then maybe no one will want to read it, and you can run that risk. And I think sometimes running that risk is fine. Like when
Yeah.
I was publishing, and when I finally split with my agent, I was actually really grateful to have time to just reassess. Like,
Hmm.
hey, what projects am I really excited about? Do I still love writing? I do, turns out, because I kept writing the whole time.
Yeah.
And just waited for a while before I even tried to get another agent because I wanted to make sure, I had projects I loved. I did still love this whole thing, even if it was going to sell or not.
Hmm.
And I think that's important. I think for writers that they love what they're doing, but it's not always gonna work
Yeah.
with the business of it.
And I think that's
Um,
part of it too, because it's like you could be waiting and get rejected by writing something that's not true to you as a writer.
right,
You might as well write what's true to you as a writer. And
exactly.
and some it's harder because writing feels really personal even when you're writing fiction. I know when I was going through my MFA program, writing workshops can feel really like it's about you when it's really not. It's about the words on the page. And I
Mhm.
I found that to be true. The people who are in the nonfiction program would often come out because they're writing such deeply personal things,
Right.
but it's not about you. It's just about the craft, right? And taking
Yeah.
that feedback. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like there was another comment in here that was similar where um the detective was talking about like paranormal romance and he's like, my wife loves these but I don't get it, and Bailey, the character, is like, it's a good thing she doesn't read for you then.
I
and
know
he
exactly.
was like, oh, that's true. And I think about that, like, you know I'm happy to have read this book. I probably wouldn't have
Right.
chosen it, but it's like there are people out there who are going to love this book because this is what they
Right.
engage
And
with and they
both
love,
of those examples are part of what I also really loved about the book cuz as a librarian, it was very clear to me that this person was like a book person and they were
Mhm.
sharing a little about the book world. And there were little moments where I felt like she was oversharing, but maybe it's just because I knew, like when she was like an ARC, an advanced reader
Oh
copy, and
yeah,
I'm like,
yes, I
okay, so
had the
like,
same thought. I had the same thought.
but but if we didn't know that, I guess it would be important to say.
Yeah.
But that the detail that she put into this cozy shop and the bookseller
Mhm.
experience, and also roped in the librarian kind of comes in because she's doing this big book festival thing, and her librarian friend is part of this. And I felt like she also worked in like the local knitters group, the yarn shop, and these are all very familiar
Yeah.
elements like you see in a small town in the community. So, I mean, we at the library even have a knitters night. So it
Yeah.
was very, I liked that she kind of was so specific about
Mhm.
something that felt so very real. And that worked for me. I think for some people, they might find that dull, and thinking about people looking for different books at different times. Like, my life is so chaotic right now, like sitting down and listening to this book was a sigh of relief because
Yeah. Oh,
I had
exactly.
it on my cloud library and I like could have a little reprieve, and I didn't have to really get really intense about anything,
Mhm.
and it was exactly what I needed at the time. But and then I listened
Yeah.
to it again after you and I decided to do this one, and I was like, I wonder if it might move a little slowly, but I don't know. I think it
Yeah.
meanders in. It sets up the scene. Did you
Yeah,
feel
and
like it was slow?
I didn't really think that it was slow because I was enjoying the atmosphere of the town.
Okay.
But I was actually looking at some of the Goodreads reviews like right before we started recording, and some
Okay.
people were like, I thought I was only 15% in and I was halfway and nothing is, like, and like, so there were some people who did feel that way. I
Okay.
don't remember feeling that way because, like I said, I feel like I was getting to know the characters and I was enjoying just the town, like,
Right.
itself as a character. I do think if you want, like, a lot of action, there are probably other books that would, like, give you more of that, and especially, I mean, even with a cozy, like, just by the nature of what a cozy mystery is. I remember, I used to communicate with, she's a Canadian author, Sarah Fox, and she writes a lot of cozy mysteries, and I was a beta reader for her for a while, and I remember giving her feedback, like,
Okay.
"I feel like this person would have a really hard time after this happened, like, can she be having, like, some nightmares or, like, could
Mental
something be
breakdown?
happening?" And she was like, "Well, it's not really gonna get that dark because it's a cozy mystery," and I wasn't at the time as, like, versed in, like, the tropes of the genre
Right.
because I was, like, as a reader, I was like, "If this happened, like, this person is gonna be traumatized, I wanna see it," but that's just
Like,
not
why
the
aren't they
nature of the
like in with
genre.
their therapist right away?
Yes.
I don't
Like
understand what's
like
happening.
crying in a corner in the fetal position. I the scene of them finding him, like, with his throat slash with the pumpkin on his head, like, I could visualize it. It was, like, truly,
Yeah, so and it's in the
daunting and
corn maze,
terrifying.
right? I mean, it's in the corn
Yeah, it's a
maze.
corn
She
maze, yep,
stumbled, yeah,
or the hay
and
maze, whatever it is,
right,
yeah.
and so that is the first of all, a corn maze can get a little eerie anyway if you're
Yeah,
wandering through, and then you've got this slaughtered person with a pumpkin, and I mean, at first you might think that's not real, but she knew it was because the watch was on there, right?
yeah,
So that
yeah.
is, yeah, that's definitely some trauma there. I feel like it could have been explored a little.
And then, like, later on, they're ordering tacos and, like, laughing at the bar,
They hit the
you
bar.
know?
They hit the bar.
Yeah,
I mean, it did help though that the character wasn't super lovable.
yeah,
The Lance, right, is our
yeah,
guy who
yeah,
had
yeah,
been murdered,
mhm,
right? So, because that's something to think about too. Because as I was reading, and they love to set up in these like who killed him, and maybe multiple people have a
mhm,
reason to, and right away we know that he's not like
yeah,
super. He's just not a great guy.
yeah,
Um, Sometimes even maybe a little over the top to for me. Like, he really seemed like such a jerk. We do
yeah,
get a
and the
little bit of
tailor,
backstory.
the assistant who was kind of a suspect early on, who
Oh
was the
yeah.
second victim, murder victim, so
Mm-hmm.
she gets cleared, but that second murder, because I remember rereading the description when I was about halfway through the book and being like, the bodies start piling up, and I'm like, we have one body. Like, when's this next body gonna,
Not
like
that
pile?
many. It's not a
So there were
pile.
two, right? Two murders.
I think
So it was
so.
Lance and Taylor,
Right.
and Taylor was a sort of like ambitious assistant. So you had this idea that like maybe she wanted Lance's job. You don't really know
Right.
what's going on.
And
Um,
they were doing the paranormal. So just I
yeah,
don't know if we gave any backstory for
yeah,
that,
I don't
but
think we
yeah,
did. We're
Lance
doing great. Well, let's go. Let's
we're
dive
doing
in.
incredibly well. So Lance is there and he's like a paranormal. He hosts the show. So they're trying to film in
He was like a sort of semi-famous, like he'd had one big movie
right.
role, and
Right.
he's also from the town. So
Yeah, so
the
locally
off,
he's
yeah,
like he's the boy who made it and
yeah,
so they used her shop but they trashed the shop. So she already is mad at them, and they were totally blasé about trashing her shop.
yeah,
So already you're kind of like, ooh, these guys are not the greatest. You don't like them before they're offed.
yeah. And and to give the readers some background, if you have not read with us, they trash it to try to make it look like there was ghost activity, right? Like they
Right.
weren't just being hateful. They were in there like, oh, something happened, and she didn't mean to knock the whole shelf over, but it like destroyed the shop. And so to add in layers, because I feel like we're kind of going out of order, but there's also Bailey, I think is our main character,
Main character, yep.
and she lives with her grandfather who used to own the shop, and her grandparents raised her. Her grandmother
Right.
has since passed away. Her mother is alive, but like has a new family that had never really raised her. Was like an ambitious. She's a doctor. Had her in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and this is okay. So I'm gonna start getting into the things that like irked me a little bit. I love the feel of the town, but they've also set this town up to be like everybody knows everybody, everybody knows everything about everybody, and
And
yet
in a
nobody
destination.
knows who her father
Oh,
is.
okay. Because I was going to quibble about, okay, in a destination town, is anybody really like the original people there? Not usually, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
fair enough.
But at the
That's
same
another good
time,
point.
yeah, nobody knows who her father is. And that is surprising
And
because,
it's either Rex the writer or Lance the paranormal film person. So those are our two options as we learn that she's
right.
starting to suspect. And then when Lance ends up dead and you think it could be your father, she's like kind of blasé about it, like, which is,
Yeah, she's not
it's that same like emotionality on the surface type
right.
thing, that
We
I feel like is necessary for this type of book. But
we don't get a lot of interior sort of
yeah,
worry. We do have questions because they keep that
yeah,
going. So you are also asking the questions as this mystery plays out.
yeah. So I did like I liked I'm just kind of looking at it, like favorite lines, parts, characters, and before we
Yeah,
get too much into like the who done it and maybe some of the issues we had, but um I did like the main character. I
I
feel
did
like
too.
and I liked Colby, the
Yep,
librarian best friend.
yep.
Um I did sort of feel like this was like the perfect, like, she owns a bookshop and she paddle boards every Thursday and she runs 17 miles to and from
Yes.
work and she like buys tacos for I'm just like
Do you
this,
think
like,
it's the perfect hipster
and
lifestyle?
and yet the detective is like, who's been there since she was a kid, is like, you probably killed this guy, and I'm like, you've probably known her since she was born. Do you really think that she killed
Right.
this person? Like,
But
so it's
I have issue. I mean, if we're talking about a couple issues, and I just had a couple, but and I think I already mentioned one, but one of the ones was the investigation. I have it every time with mysteries because it's like, really, you think the police would let you walk into that person's apartment and like take a piece of
yeah.
evidence? And they say something like, "Oh, I already looked over that and didn't find anything." I don't think that's how police work. I think they
Yeah.
would have taken it down to the I mean, I'm not a police officer, but I think they would have taken it down to the
But then
precinct
she
or
couldn't have
something.
taken it and like,
Leave it
further
in the
the
room
plot.
and not
Yeah.
have any sort of investigation like tape or keep people out. Anybody can wander in, just get rid of
Yeah.
whatever you want. So I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I have that problem with a lot of the cozy mysteries because it's like, I know it's like if it's a small town, sometimes I think people think they can play with the parameters of that kind
Mhm.
of investigation a little bit. And surely,
Yeah.
yes, it's not going to be as tightly run as a major investigation, but I do think there are some things that they would.
And and I feel like it would be different if you had like like the image of a bumbling detective, but I don't feel like they set him up that way. I think they
Not at
set him up
all.
like he's a really solid like police officer. He knows what he's doing, and yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
So,
No,
yeah,
I agree. Yeah. Um. So thinking about the murders.
the
Um.
murders, yes.
So we'll give Sorry, my dogs are trying to come in. So I had one more line before we move on, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
it kind of goes back to I think the power of books, and maybe this could be saved for the end, but as she was talking about reading and books, and of course my Kindle just went to sleep as I'm trying to read this, but she says they allow kids in small towns to dream of the wider world, and when the magic is right, they bring people home. And I
Oh, I
think
love that. Yeah.
like like reading expands somebody's knowledge, their
Totally.
worldview, their existence, but also I think there's a sense of finding yourself in a human story, right? And
Sure.
bringing, and whether it's like physically bringing somebody home, I think here they were talking like specifically about like Rex actually being brought back
Right.
to his hometown finally.
Right.
Um but I think also just like can bring people back to themselves,
Oh,
right? Like when you
yeah,
find the right book
absolutely.
that speaks to you. And even like you were saying, like you needed a escape at the time you were reading this, and it was perfect, and it helped
Yes.
you, like, recenter yourself, right?
Yeah, that does
Yeah.
speak to that too. Because
Yeah.
it was like a nice little reset.
Yeah.
So thinking about the murders though, I know with these kind of books we often are like, oh, it could be really predictable and you see it coming. That can be disappointing. I have to say I
Mhm.
didn't see it coming in this one. I wanted to know if you knew the culprit, and if you did, when did you know?
Okay. I didn't know the culprit, but I do remember in hindsight, there was a moment, and I'll ask, do we wanna reveal the culprit now and then talk
No, I
about it?
think we
Okay.
better not. No.
Okay. So there was one moment where the author made an observation. And then once the culprit was revealed, I was like, I knew that
Okay.
like, why else would she have pointed this particular detail out?
Right.
So it, like, in hindsight, I was like, oh, all the seeds were there.
But did you go back and you saw it, or did you
So I went
back?
back
You're
and
flipping back
then,
at the moment.
yeah. So, and it's hard, I love my Kindle, but that's the one thing, 'cause I'm so
Oh
visual.
yeah.
Like, I could tell you, like, oh, this is on the bottom left of a page, like 2/3 of the book. Well, on a Kindle, you can't do that because you can't, like, know where to flip. So I couldn't really go back and like look at every piece, but when
Right.
I figured out who it was, I did think back to like, I think there were 3 to 4 solid clues planted that
Okay.
made it believable, but I also feel like they started a lot of threads just to throw the reader off that
Absolutely.
didn't go anywhere,
Okay.
which is fine.
No, I mean, I feel
Um,
like there's always a little of that.
yeah. Like, for example, like, the tunnel in Lance's old home
Right. It has
was
a
now
secret
at
passageway. Yep.
B&B. Yeah, there's, like, a secret passageway, and they make a big deal about it, and then there's nothing
I know, but it's to draw
about
your
it.
attention. I think is like, look over here, look over
Yeah, and
here.
so, yeah, and I feel like, okay, if we're gonna spoil it, maybe now's the time
Okay, go
because
ahead.
okay, so and we won't give the character name, but I'll just say, um, the character who is the killer, her motivation is that, like Bailey's mother, she was a pregnant teenager
That's right. Yeah.
by Lance, and Lance, who as an adult was a douchebag, was also kind of a douchebag in
Correct.
high
High
school, had no
school.
accountability. His parents always got him off the hook for
Correct.
everything. And so he kind of left her pregnant and whatever. And she had the kid and gave it up, I
I think
think, and was like
so.
bitter about it. And so
Right.
never had kids after that. And so she killed him. And then I don't actually fully remember, but she killed Taylor because she was afraid Taylor
I
knew
feel like Taylor
something.
knew. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
Taylor was like a killed because she was getting a clue.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't see it coming, but now that I think back, one thing that I really like that you're touching on now is that sometimes cozy mysteries, like this one, just very it actually worked pretty well personally with the main
Mhm.
character. You know, her kind of, yeah, a little bit. She wants to know who her mother was or who her father
Mhm,
was,
mhm.
and it does tie into that ultimately in the end. And I think some don't even go that deep. So
Yeah.
even though we're not really feeling her internal dialogue a lot or her personal worries, there is that arc for her, which I appreciated
Yeah.
and I thought worked.
And I think too she had, like, and we had this discussion off camera at one point where we were like, is there going to be more in this series? Like,
Right.
is this potential, because they set the character up as being like, oh, I don't want mean wannabe, like, in a bad way, but like she's working on a graphic novel that she's scared to tell anybody about. Like,
Right.
there's like kind of all of this stuff that was planted that could potentially grow in like
Yeah,
another
I just don't
story,
feel
but
like it will. I feel like it
yeah.
definitely is a standalone. It's not like a Stephanie Plum type character or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
I don't know if she would investigate multiple murders, unless, of course, it's like only murders in the building where more murders just keep happening in the
Well, and that's what I was
building.
thinking, because I was looking, she has something about, like, murder in a Halloween, like, there's something,
Oh,
but
interesting.
I don't think it's the
Oh,
same town,
okay.
but I was looking, she does have a group of books that are a series, but I think this one at the time, which this is fairly recent, I think. The year is not showing on here, so I don't know, when this was published, but, um I don't know. I guess time will tell, or we maybe need to
Yeah.
Google it and see if there'll
Yeah,
also be,
exactly.
like,
And you know what? So much
17 in the
depends.
series.
I know, and so much, unfortunately, in reality, depends on how well this one did, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
Mhm.
she could have set a couple things up saying, yeah, we can go again if this hits.
Yeah.
But a lot of things factor into if it lands, when it lands, and how many people pick it up. And then
And
they might buy a second one if the sales look good.
yeah, and the thing is she has written a number of books,
Yeah.
and it could also be that her readers are just not the type to put things in Goodreads. So we
Right.
have an inaccurate picture of how many
Right.
people are
That's
actually reading
true.
her books.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, kind of going back to a little bit of a pet peeve with the murderer in the small town, just thinking about, like, the essence of the small town. Like, there was the one woman who Bailey clearly sees all the time, that she takes the books to, like, the library on
Oh,
wheels, or
right.
whatever it is that she goes to, that clearly knows that this was the woman who was pregnant. And it's like, people in the town, like, you don't live in a small town like that without some hot tea,
No, oh no.
pouring out all over the street.
Or at least like it might not be true, but it's going around anyway.
Yeah, so it's like, how do people not know that this was the case? And how, and I don't know,
Right.
I think they do set it up that, like, our narrator does have such a rich world with her friends and her
Yes.
bubble that, like,
Yeah.
maybe she wouldn't know that,
Clue
but
into it at all. Yeah,
yeah.
that definitely is possible.
Um, I will say one of my lines I highlighted, and in the acknowledgments, I don't know if you read the
I love that you're
acknowledgments,
such
but
an educator. You're like, I have my like sticky notes.
but in the acknowledgment, she actually gave credit, so she did not write this line, but the line in the knitting group where she said, "Snitches get pearl stitches," made me,
Yes, I
like,
love
laugh out
that.
loud.
That made me giggle too. I enjoyed
Yeah.
the knitters, even though I'm horrible at knitting.
Yeah, and I highlighted some lines, like, and this is totally out of context, so I don't even remember, like, what this was in relation to, but, like, there's
Hmm.
a line I've highlighted where Bailey is like, "You must have taught my mother then." So I'm like, "Oh, connection, connection." Like, all these
Yeah,
seeds that she planted throughout, and I think that was actually the woman who ends up being the one who knows that the killer was the other girl who got
right,
pregnant. I think that's who she was talking to.
right.
Um, but yeah, there were, a lot of really funny lines. Like, I laughed a lot. I thought there were some really
It was
clever.
that kind of lighthearted
Yeah.
read for sure.
I have one here where it says, and it's just like you can't make everyone happy. So she does these, like, really great, like, first of all, like, people who own a bookshop need to read this to get some of these great ideas, because she
That's the
has
thing.
so many good ideas
Or
for,
run a
like,
book festival. I mean, she has like
yes,
she'll
oh my
mention
gosh.
displays and then she's like, "Oh, we have to get that up on social media." That's why I felt so I'm like, "This person's a bookseller." I didn't go look
Mhm.
though. Do you think that person is a bookseller?
Maybe we can Google it.
I'll
But
I'll
there
look it up because that
so
would be
she
a fun shop to visit, right? Because she has
yeah.
a lot of rotating
Well, and
stuff.
she did say in the acknowledgments that she modeled, I don't remember what she said, but she said there was a particular bookstore that inspired
Okay.
this, I believe. But she's talking about, so she puts together these boxes, like, where,
Right.
like, people subscribe, and then she said, "This didn't mean we didn't occasionally get a complaint email from someone who prefers a green tea harvested only during full moons on Tuesdays, but received a fruity black tea when that's quote unquote not what I drink." And I was like,
I know.
that is, like, retail right there. Like, you're
That
always
also
gonna have a disgruntled
yes.
customer.
Or like the library, because I work
Yes.
at the library, and it's like, oh yes, that felt very much like a public interaction. Like, there's an expectation, but who knew about
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
How's your drink going? Are you
It's
are you
good. Yeah, and it is a little sweet, but I really think the soda was the
down
right
toward the
choice.
bottom of mine? Definitely, it's getting sweeter.
Yeah. But I used a lot of lemon, so I think it's going good. I
It's
feel
all good.
like
It's going good.
yeah. And I feel like so what we talked about, maybe saying what our main drink of choice would have been. You said, you pointed out that I like scotch. So that was so
Yes,
funny, because I was like, when we were trying the drink out, I was like, I think I'm going to use club soda instead of ginger ale because the bourbon's already so sweet. And you're like, I find it hilarious that you think
I
bourbon
know.
is
I was
sweet.
like, yeah, it's extremely
And
sweet.
I'm
It's
like, I'm
burning my
used to, like,
mouth.
gasoline and peat. Like, that's what I want.
You're like those caramel tones. I'm like, oh yes, I'm getting a lot of caramel out of this, but you drink that more than I do. But I love like a whiskey sour, so I was like almost yearning for a whiskey sour as I was
Yeah.
squeezing the lemon, and I was like, I needed to be like a little bit more whiskey
A little
sourish.
bit tart, a little bit more sour. Okay, so let's talk about, knowing this is not everyone's cup of tea. If you um read some other book that they might enjoy this, and then maybe if they're looking for something slightly different from this but with the same sort of mystery or feel, like, maybe some recommendations for
Right.
that. So I already mentioned, if well, Sarah Fox is a great Canadian cozy mystery. She does other things too, but she if you like cozy mysteries, she is really talented. Like, as I said, I beta read for her for a while. And she's got just a number of books out, and they're just, like, really enjoyable to read. So if you
Yeah.
like cozy mysteries, she's good to check out. Um Do you have any you wanna
I
recommend?
have one that was not at all a cozy mystery,
Okay,
but
you know what? The one I'm gonna say next is not cozy,
okay,
so
so I was driving home the other night and I was like, oh, I want something seasonal and spooky.
mhm.
And I want it to be kind of like I was like very accessible and still kind of a little like brushing over the top, but maybe leaning a little in horror. And I saw um it was called Slade House by David Mitchell.
Okay.
And it's about this house
That the same
that
David Mitchell that writes, like, the historical nonfiction?
maybe it definitely had this kind of vibe. Is he
I have to look
British?
it up. I don't know, but my friend just read Unruly, which was about, like, British royalty, like
Okay.
historical, like, about the royals, and it was by David Mitchell, but I don't know if he also writes
Oh, I
fiction,
don't
so I have
know
to
because
look
I
it up.
had it, but
Yeah.
you know why I clicked on it because I was driving all the way up to Freedom, New Hampshire, and I was like, "This sounds great and
Yeah.
atmospheric," and I love the idea. So it's this house that appears, Slade House. It appears every 9 years, and
Hmm.
its whole premise is that the house has to trap these people, because it's like a horrifying brigadoon. They're
Yeah.
trying to trap
I love it, I love
people, and
well, I
so
was
that
thinking Schmigadoon too, if you did you watch
no,
Schmigadoon?
I
That's the, like
haven't.
okay, we'll we'll go off
So
on that then.
right, the people wander in, and you follow these different people over like or decades, and they go in, and then soon they're trapped, and it's kind of like these two like twins sucking their souls so they can
Mm.
live on and then continue. And it was so eerie, and I got to tell you, I was driving back from Freedom, New Hampshire, listening to it. It is like 9 o'clock at night on a weeknight, hugely foggy out, and then it's like, and then he felt himself. Where am I? And I'm like, they're so disoriented, and I'm just driving for hours through this fog. I was like, this might not have been the best thing to read
I love it.
while having this little journey, but it's fine.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
I just think it's a good. It's not like a read alike, but it's definitely it's a quick read. It's
Mhm.
not gonna take you a lot of energy. It definitely is atmospheric, very well written, and definitely seasonal. So
Yeah, no, that's great. So I was thinking one thing I thought about, and this is again not cozy, and it was very dark, but I read it recently, and this actually was a book that I I think did fairly well. I'm trying to get back so I can see who the author is because I did this one on my Kindle as well. But the tunnel in Lance's childhood home made me think of it. So there is a book
okay.
called The Quarry Girls,
Oh,
and it is, let me get to it on my Kindle. So the author of it actually grew up in a town that had more than one serial killer, like in her real life. Like there was more
whoa,
than one serial killer
that's creepy. For real?
in her town. So she wanted to write a novel, like what would it be like? And the whole town was this like and I don't remember, it kind of made me think of oh my gosh, what's the automobile? My brother lives in South Bend, so I should know this, but
Oh
the
God.
an old automobile company in like Indiana, but like it
Okay.
kind of felt like a factory town where they had built all of these houses on a system of connected tunnels. So like you could literally get into like everybody's basement,
Okay.
so the workers could like get to the factory and not have to like be driving. I can't find it on my Kindle to tell you who the author is. Um, but the tunnel like made me think of that. And again, not cozy. It is very dark. It's very um atmospheric. It's a little seedy, so if you
Right.
like, but it was very well written. I really enjoyed just the character journey of it, and it was that sort of like what I find scary, and I'm always looking for like good horror movies, things like that, because I want to be scared, and then I'm always disappointed by like the same old storyline or the same
Yes.
old tropes.
Yes.
But one thing I find incredibly um scary is that idea of no escape. So like corrupt small towns where the people you should be able to trust are in on it. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
really terrifying to me, and it has that feel
Okay.
to it. And
Gotcha.
I'm not going to give away like who in the town is in on it or not, but um it it really, yeah. Oh, I think I must have returned it to Kindle Unlimited. It's why it's not on here.
Okay.
Um
Gotcha.
but I'll Google it, and when we post this, we can also maybe put the author in some of our notes. But Yeah, so I think if you are looking for something thriller mystery that has real like atmosphere, it sounds like the one you recommended is good. This Quarry Girls one was also really enjoyable, I thought. Um I've been actually reading for somebody who doesn't always love tropey things. I've been reading a lot of genre thrillers lately.
Why
Um
though? Are you just drawn to them recently, or
no, I get really frustrated and, and annoyed usually
what
like
are you
halfway
doing?
through because my big thing is too it's like if you're in an omniscient narrator or first person narrator, you know what you're not telling us. Like just tell us and let us experience it
Right, no, I
too. Like
agree.
I don't like withholding for the sake of twist, but that's also the entire point of like a thriller is to
No,
like
that's
give you it out
true.
as it goes. So I've been trying to I also think um, for me, because I'm so character driven, I think I've really grown in plot as I write, but I think stuff like that that is so plot driven is a good study for me
Yeah.
because I need to work on making those like choices to like move the plot,
Right. Sometimes
right?
it's a great study in pacing because you're like, you do have to find a
Mhm.
balance at some point. And if you're like, it really needs to be more about the plot right now and not the character,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to make that choice.
And I mean, and those are, there's I remember reading in my MFA program Mrs. Bridges. I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
ever read it. Okay. Like literally nothing happens in that
Right.
novel. Like she like washes towels and decorates her guest's bathroom and then sits in her garage and can't go anywhere because she's so
Right.
crippled by 1950s womanhood or whatever it is. But
Yes.
I not to say that that's not legitimate,
No, that's
but
great. It's all good.
completely legitimate. But like I really enjoyed that book, but people who want action, like that is not the book for you,
It's not going to
right?
work.
Like, but
What is that
yeah.
author? Oh,
Oh,
oh, what
dang.
is? Oh
I
God, is
want
it?
to I want to say like Connors or something. I don't. That could be completely
I
wrong.
don't know, but it reminds me of one where I was reading it and I was totally drawn in.
Oh yeah, it's Evan S. Connell. I was
Oh,
close. I
okay, good
pulled that
job.
out of nowhere. That was
Wow.
yeah, go me.
Is that one?
Yeah.
What did you read lately that you loved? Did you read one that recently that you were super psyched about?
Let me look at my Goodreads. So I will say, science fiction is not my thing, but I'm in the middle of Project Hail Mary and
Okay,
really enjoying that, and that's like a massive bestseller. So
right, and
he
that's
doesn't
yes,
need our
that's
help, but
sci-fi. Right, right. No,
I recently read you didn't even finish All Fours. I remember we talked about this. You did not
no.
enjoy
I
that.
I was like so upset by. I was
Yeah.
just like, lady,
I
go to an art museum.
I had moments where I was texting people and I was like, "So I just got to this scene and what is happening right now?"
What is that? So that's All Fours by Miranda July, right?
Yes. I ultimately think I came out on the side of liking it, but I didn't like her.
Okay,
And I agree with you like in my mind I'm like you could have you could have found yourself in other ways than this,
right,
but what I do think she captured really well is the desperation of feeling like you're not living the life you're supposed to be living,
right,
right? Like so that like that feeling of I'm wasting my life and I'm unhappy. Like I think she did
right,
a good job capturing like the panic and desperation and like the fact that you're going to make really poor choices when you feel that way.
right.
But I also don't feel like she felt like she made poor choices, and
Well, that
that's
was
kind
I
of
was just
like
like, and
yeah,
plus she was like damaging other people's lives at the same time.
yeah,
I don't know. I just she lost me. She
yeah.
lost me.
Prophet Song, I really enjoyed.
Who's that one by,
And
Jess?
so that one is Paul Lynch. Again,
Okay,
does not need our help. Massive bestseller, but like
I know you. Well, you're hitting the bestsellers.
I know I was um crying in Nashville traffic, on my way to a meeting. Um it
Yep.
it's it really it's kind of a the objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, so it's a little hard to read
Okay.
um with events of the world, but
Okay. Gotcha.
it was a really interesting twist I feel on a sort of dystopian story where it wasn't after, it was like during, and it wasn't from the viewpoint of like the people fighting the fight. It was the wife who whose husband disappears, and she's left trying to keep her house together
Okay.
while the world is falling apart around her,
Apart.
and it's just like
Okay.
her
Gotcha.
trying to make decisions, like, is it best to leave? Is it best to stay? And it's
Yeah.
heart-wrenching, it's beautifully written.
Okay.
Um, it ends a little bit open, like, it's a little, the person who recommended it to me was like he was like, "I feel like she kinda copped out at the end," and I was like, I don't know that I feel that way, but I feel um, like, it's almost like I need to wrap this up, so let's end it here." Whereas it could have done other,
I mean, that's
other things.
interesting because sometimes there is a deadline.
Yeah,
It's like can't go on indefinitely.
yeah.
Oh.
Um, what about you? Have read
I
anything
mean,
that you
I
really
I
enjoyed?
haven't done a ton because I've just been like completely Sam by life events. Um, I read that one and I'm trying to think of it. It's like Finding Joy in a Year Without Sex, which was nonfiction, and it was interesting. Just because she philosophizes so much. Um, and
Yeah.
try and is figuring out her own life. And I always like that kind of story. That's the same one where Drunkish was similar in such a way where
Mm,
you're seeing sort of a self-sabotaging person sort it out. And I like that in real time.
yeah.
Um, I also picked up again thinking, there's so much just, happening, honestly, just like health stuff in my family, that I've been seeking like light little things. So I had also picked up Isabella Nag and the Basil Pot, which was by Oliver Darkshire, and I literally just picked it up based on title, and honestly, I'm enjoying it immensely, and I'm like halfway through. I'm not done with it yet, but I really think it's just a fun, cozy fantasy. So those are my two that I've gotten. And then I also, it's not a new book by any stretch, and it's not a book you read, but I got this because I do my Soul Spun Kitchen blog, and I thought it was very fitting for what we do as well. It's Just Cocktails. This is
Oh,
from the
yes.
1940s, Jess.
Oh, I
And
love
I
it.
I was so excited. Well, maybe 1939. And I'm going to do research on it, and it's I love it just because it has a wood binding, which is what drew me to
Yeah.
it, like a
I was
wood
gonna say it
cover
looks like it's a wood book, yeah.
and a leather binding. And I was like, how many of these did they produce? So I've been flipping through this, just enjoying some of the very retro
Oh,
illustrations
yeah, those are great.
and seeing some of the different cocktails. Um, so yeah, I've had a couple of cool. I
I think
almost
I've had
find
a couple of cocktails, no?
I've had a couple of cocktails before we walked in here. We'll have to try some in here and see if it
Yeah.
holds up. So that's all I've been up to, and
Yeah, and
hopefully
you
next time
should,
I'll have a little bit more.
and I meant to say it earlier when you were talking about your, cemetery walks and stuff, but Erin's Instagram channel is so fun to follow because you do cemetery walks, like, every week,
I
and
do a lot of cemetery
she
stuff.
just like, they're just so fun, and
I
you
gotta
you
say,
you went after your genealogy
right,
certification, right? So, like, and she's done an amazing history on a member of
our
our
family.
family. Yeah, but you should, plug your Instagram handle so
Yeah,
people can
it's just
follow you.
Erin E. Moulton. So, or Track Your Dead. And you got to see what I almost stepped on the other day in the cemetery when I was doing the legends and lore prep. I almost screamed. I was just like, it looks so creepy. I mean, I was horrified, but I had to take a picture of it from every angle. So it's just like,
You're like, "Oh, no. Click, click, click."
like I know. I should have been running in the other direction. So my thing for that is just this like really intense fungi that's huge on a grave, and I was like, maybe like if there's time and it's still there, I might make a folklore up about it, and then like of course reveal it at the end. I'm just joking, but I thought it would be fun to be like 100 years ago today.
I love it. Oh,
All right.
man. Okay,
What are we up?
so
What do we have next?
okay, so we were talking next month is November, and for those of you who write, you probably know it's National Novel Writing Month,
Yes.
so NaNoWriMo. Um, and so while this author, I actually read The Wedding People recently by Allison. I'm going to say Espak. I think that's how you
I think
pronounce her name.
so.
We'll find out before we do the next episode to make sure that's correct. But I recently picked up another book by her. That was her first novel, and I was like, "Oh, I really enjoyed The Wedding People. I'll read this one." Um, and so I started looking into it because we've been trying to pick books, kind of as a rule of thumb that have under X reviews on Goodreads to just
Right.
try to kind of like expand exposure. And so like The Wedding People like legitimately has like hundreds of thousands of
Yeah, really
like reviews,
landed.
like
Yeah.
massive bestseller. But her first two books, which spanned about 15 years, 11 to 15 years, I think, before The Wedding People, did not do very well in the sense of like the number of people who have rated it or reviewed it. So part of writing is, as much as we write because we love to write, there's also the dream of hoping that, somebody also
Growing.
loves what we write and wants to publish it. And so we kind of wanted to highlight the first novel of an author who is now massive, but it took them
Yeah.
15 years to get that bestseller, out there.
Right.
So we are going to be reading The Adults by Allison S. Pack. And I believe it was published in 2011, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but that will be our November read. So if you want to read with us, you can have that book, pick that book up and read, and then we will join you for a discussion next month.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
And we'll
And
see
we'll
you there.
see you next month. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Special thanks to Jay McPherson for the theme song, and music credit for Lobby Time by Kevin MacLeod for some of the sound effects used within today's episode.